It's Wednesday. Let's chat. Hi, I'm Kanan Chandran, the publisher of stormasia.com, and this is our regular series of discussions, the WED WEB CHAT, which we have every first and third Wednesday of the month. Well, we've had a couple of years of the COVID already, and we're trying to come to terms with that. We've got a war in Ukraine. We've got all sorts of issues taking place because of that. And yesterday, a couple of days ago, we had a guy running along the street with a sword. Strange things are taking place. People are, finding it a bit more challenging to exist in this sort of environment, perhaps. So how do we cope with all of this? How do we sort of find a better centering for ourselves and trying to figure out how we can cope with the various things that are being thrown at us? Making calm decisions. It's about how you calm yourself down to make the best decisions given the circumstances you're in and the situation that you're facing, right? It's about mindfulness. It's that human ability to be fully present, aware of where we are and what we are doing, and not to overreact to things or be overwhelmed by what's taking place around us, right? Mindfulness-based strategic awareness thinking, or MBSAT. Now, it's a strengths-based mindfulness training, and it helps you achieve a calmer mind, to develop awareness of your body and your thoughts, to reduce stress levels, make better decisions, and develop more empathy as well. I've got 3 practitioners of MBSAT who they're teachers, and they've studied it, and they're teaching it, and they're applying it in their life and work. So they'll be best positioned to talk a lot more about MBSAT and how it will be useful for people, for all of us in our daily lives, right? So our panelists today, we have Dr. Gerard Wong. He's a physician, a certified MBSAT teacher. He's also a certified professional coach. He has extensive work experience in both the public and private sectors, including regional responsibilities in the biopharmaceutical industry. And he has worked across multiple domains such as consultancy, medical affairs, regulatory affairs, and clinical research. Maria Tan, she's an AP Channel strategy lead in a tech company, and she's also an MBSAT teacher. She's a veteran in the tech industry, having spent 20 years in business development, channel management, marketing, strategy, and planning. She actively volunteers as a counselor and life coach as well. And Norman New is a mindfulness advocate and educator. He's a certified MBSAT teacher and Gallup Strengths coach. He started his own mindfulness journey 25 years ago. He has attended numerous retreats and practiced under many well-known meditation teachers. So he's now a full-time academic and teaches a course on healthy living and well-being in the Nanyang Technological University. All of you have taken the plunge, taken the course, been through it, and now applying it. How much of a difference does MBSAT make to your thinking, the way you think, the way you make decisions?
I started my own mindfulness journey about 25 years ago, but it's mostly in the spiritual domain. Yeah, so I attended many retreats. I tried becoming a monk, but I wanted something, and I've been in education my whole life as well, teaching mostly at the tertiary level. And I wanted something, I was looking, past 2 years with COVID and all, what the kind of VUCA world that we live in. And I wanted something that I can bring to the classroom to kind of value add or help the students, to deal with all the stresses that they have. Yeah. So that's why I stumbled upon this MBSAT. And I thought, wow, it's a circular protocol and it suits my needs very well. I think it will benefit the students, which is why I decided to take the plunge to learn more about MBSAT and to introduce it to the classroom. Yeah. Personally, for me, I think in the past, a lot of times, right, I tend to react according to the situation, whatever circumstances, right? Always reacting. A lot of times, without any restraint. Sometimes I regret sending out this email or giving free rein to my emotions and my feelings. But after this, learning about MBSAT and doing some of the practices, I find that that's what we call the, I know it's a taboo word, no? Circuit breaker. You kind of insert a circuit breaker, a filter also, no? So that I don't kind of whatever comes to my mind, I just let it out. Yes, become calmer as a result, but also, make more skillful decisions, I guess.
I started meditating over 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago. And to me, that still is a spiritual prayers. So I actually pray in the Christian meditation tradition. And so I actually benefited from it. So besides the spiritual aspect, I also noticed, it affects the way I behave, the way I think. And in fact, my bosses in this fast-paced tech industry, a few of my bosses make this comment that I always appear to be very calm. So personally, I benefited from this. But I know that if I'm going to talk to my colleagues about meditation, they would think that it's a religion, it's spiritual, and people might not be interested. So on the other hand, I'm eager to share what I learned because I can see the fruits of it. So I chanced upon this MBSAT, where it is a circular course, and actually it is very scientific. It actually integrated a lot of theories, psychological theories, positive psychology, and so on.
My experience with meditation has perhaps only been since the last 5 years. So I do have diverse interests besides medicine and business in general. And so something like MBSAT was very attractive to me. Now, when you talk about mindfulness, most people are familiar with MBSR, stress reduction, and mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, which was developed maybe 15 years ago by people at the University of Oxford. And these have been mostly clinical applications of mindfulness, achieving the calm state, reducing stress. This has worked very well, which is why it's pretty widespread in practice and taught by many people. Now, MBSAT is rather different because while mindfulness forms the platform and an important basis, it combines mindfulness with some of the management disciplines and the learnings from positive psychology. So for MBSAT in particular, it's two pillars. One is mindfulness, the other is positive psychology, the findings that were initiated by Matti Seligman. When you're looking at what is good about people and how to develop your best self, having positivity rather than only looking at mindfulness as a clinical therapy. So this is very attractive and potentially applicable to almost every area of life. And MBSAT in particular would want to foster and cultivate a generative mind that might be free from cognitive distortions and biases so that we can make better decisions, having full awareness of our internal environment, the external stimuli, as well as all the information that's available before we come to make a decision. And this with a clear mind, with more positive emotions, even with more friendliness. And so this attracted me to MBSAT. And now that I've come across it, I found that it's been invaluable for me to manage my own situations in both family life as well as professional life.
Are there sort of personality types that would benefit more from MBSAT than, is there if you're more stressed, if you're more agitated, if you fly off the handle a lot more, would something like MBSAT help you control that better? Or is it something that's going to bring out positive attributes in everybody, regardless of your temperament?
There is no specific personality that is required. You don't need to be under stress in order to benefit from MBSAT, for instance, because MBSAT not just reduces stress, although that's part of the benefit, but it gives you the capability and resources to really optimize your human experience in terms of being able to have autonomy in what you think, what you can feel, the emotions that you have, and the actions that you will necessarily take, all based upon your awareness of whatever's around you, being more sensitive to things that are important in the environment, as well as to develop those relationships in life that really need a lot of addressing for most people.
Do Do you want to just conduct a short session, Gerard, just so that the audience can get a sense of what it takes or what MBSAT entails?
Okay, thank you for that. So there are a number of recommended practices in MBSAT. Some of these are similar to what you find in most mindfulness courses, but there are some that are peculiar to MBSAT. So what I'll do is we can go through a simple guided mindfulness meditation, which we call the CEO of Beta. CEO because it's something that can be useful to the business community as well. It could be the CEO of, and Beta is the acronym for body sensations, emotions, thoughts, and action impulses. In summary, your human experience at any particular point in time. So for this guided meditation, what's important to note is that it's very flexible, versatile. It can be used formally as well as informally, and most useful before a challenging situation, like before a meeting or some encounter that you might be having later on in the day. So CEO Beta will be a way you can use to prepare yourself, to calm your mind, and help switch the mode of your mind from agitation to a calmer state. Those that might be new to meditation or contemplate the practice, just follow along and enjoy the experience as much as you can. So to begin, I'd like to invite you to adopt a comfortable position wherever you are. If you're seated, then you may want to align your head, your neck, and your spine so that you can help foster a posture that will help with alertness. If you prefer to lie down on a mat or a nearby sofa, you're free to do that as well. So adopt a comfortable position. And when you are ready, I invite you to close your eyes if it is comfortable for you to do so. And now the focus of this meditation is on your beta, which is your sensations, your emotions, your thoughts, and your action impulses. There are 3 steps. Step number 1, the CEO of beta, the C stands for catching. So in this first step, we want to catch the body sensations, emotions, thoughts, and action impulses, which you may have at this moment. So for body sensations, move your attention to whatever you may be feeling in any part of your body. Perhaps it is the warmth of your buttock on your seat. It may be the contact of your feet on the ground. Or there may be some itch, discomfort somewhere. Whatever it is, simply be aware of any sensations in any part of your body. Now turning to your emotions. Become aware of whatever emotions may be present at this time. Maybe there is some anxiety about inflation, petrol prices. Or there could even be some anger at the crisis in Ukraine, people suffering. Whatever emotions you are feeling at this time, just be aware of them without any judgment. Leaving behind your emotions, turning now to becoming aware of your thoughts. Perhaps you are thinking of where you might go for vacation, now that it may be possible. Or maybe you might be thinking about what you might have at tea break. Some simple thoughts. becoming aware of whatever thoughts you experience at this time. Once again, without any judgment, and perhaps with an attitude of curiosity. And now, becoming aware of whatever action impulses you may have. Maybe it's that long cold drink in the ice fridge. Perhaps you might want to take a quick nap after this session, after learning how to achieve a calm state and be better relaxed. Just be aware of your action impulses at this moment. And now for step 2. The E stands for evening out your beta. And here, moving your attention now to becoming aware of your breathing. Perhaps in the area of your belly, breathing in and breathing out. Becoming aware of the expansion of your belly as you breathe in and moving inwards as you breathe out. There is no need to have any particular pattern of breathing or rhythm. Simply follow the natural rhythm of your breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. Staying there for a few moments. And if your mind should wander, as the mind often does, simply bringing back your attention to focus on your breathing. Breathing in and breathing out. Without any judgment, but with an attitude of curiosity. Breathing in and breathing out. And now for step 3, opening up your beta. So now that you have a calm state and a balanced beta, opening up your beta, your experience at this moment. Preparing for the rest of your day and opening up your beta. Perhaps beginning by bending your thoughts towards a positive orientation, becoming optimistic, and having your emotions becoming more positive and open, so that your sensations and your action impulses may also orientate positively, so that you are ready for whatever comes for the rest of the day. And now as we approach the end of this guided meditation, preparing now to come back to the room. And when you are ready, slowly opening your eyes.
Thank you, Gerard. That was a nice, calm spell. With these sort of sessions, is it better to be led, or can you do it on your own?
For beginners, it's always good to have an instructor, right? Somebody to lead the thing. But the thing I found out is that after a while, right, the danger is in developing a dependency on that. And nowadays, there are also a lot of apps, no? Right? Mindfulness apps. So a lot of people, they just plug in Headspace or whatever, no? And then there's always a voice telling them what to do, what to do, what to do. And so after a while, I think it's important to kind of wean ourselves off that. Because if not, you become too dependent, and without the app, without the voice in the background, people find it difficult to do it. Yeah. So we don't want that kind of crutch mentality. Yeah. So, but at the start, definitely, I think it's useful for beginners.
It is useful actually for beginners to come as a group. You have fellow friends or fellow beginners coming together and doing the practice together to give support, encouragement for each other. And you need some encouragement to keep you going, because that will sustain you. And then when you are more comfortable, then you can be on your own.
What were your early sessions with meditation like, and how long did it take for you to realize the benefits that you derived from meditation?
I think the fruits of the meditation, people will notice it. Normally, it's the people who are around you will tell you that, hey, actually, I noticed a certain change in you, especially those who are close to you. And how long do you need to practice to do that? Actually, I don't know. So it doesn't mean that I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm a super calm at 24 hours, 7 days. No. I think that I still have my ups and downs, but because of that practice, the regular practice, I think my fellow panelists will agree with me. You need to have your regular practice to actually center ourselves.
And these regular practices, how long do they take for each of you?
So for me, I do it twice a day. I do in the morning about 20 minutes, and the evening about 20 to 30 minutes.
It took me 20 years to establish a regular practice, at 1 hour. So I do try to sit for 1 hour a day. But it took me such a long time because, I always give myself excuses. It's always either busy or lazy. When you ask people, why don't you meditate? Oh, I'm very busy or I'm very lazy. But I think, what happened was the COVID is really a double-edged sword, So why I kind of settled into a regular practice was because if you recall 2 years ago, around this time, right? The start of COVID, circuit breaker, and we were all stuck at home and things like that. A lot of anxiety and things like that. And we had a lot of time. Yeah. And to kind of cope with the stresses and the anxiety, And then because I had a lot of time and I'm at home, there's no social obligations, things like that. So then, I started to go more into the practice. In meditation, we have the formal and the informal practice. So the 1 hour practice is more of the formal one. But the formal one gives us a good foundation, or gives us the support, for the informal practice. So what Gerard has just done, the CEO of Vita, is an excellent informal practice. If we're familiar with it, we can actually do it within 3 minutes or even 1 minute. Sometimes I do it when I'm stuck at the traffic light in the car, Yeah, you can do it, or waiting for the lift. Yeah. So the formal practice kind of complement the informal practice.
For me, the practice has been where I can find the time. So I would always try to reserve at least part of the day. And it's best for habits if you pick a particular time of the day. So I try to pick the early morning when I get up to do even a short practice. And the longer practices, like a body scan, may take up maybe 30 minutes. So that might be suitable at the end of the day. Yeah. But as Norman's pointed out, these practices, especially the CEO of Beta, are quite flexible. and can be done in different times, depending on, the need for attaining a calmer state.
Have you, in the course of your work, right, or a trying personal situation even, applied this and had a better outcome than you expected because you adopted an MBSAT approach to the decision-making process?
The practice that Gerard has introduced, CO Beta, it is really versatile. It's really versatile because you can do it anytime, anywhere. So for me, I've been in the tech industry for a long time. And before everybody is used to working from home, we have been working virtually all the time. My fellow colleagues are people from Australia, Japan. So I would have meetings in the morning with the Australians. Australians are pretty open and we can have free discussion. After one session, after the con call with them, immediately I need to switch over to the Japanese. So, the Japanese has a different code of conduct, right? And then the protocol is different. So I cannot use the kind of directness that when I do a discussion with the Australians to the Japanese, because they would think that that's not polite, that's rude, and the way we phrase things could be different. So how do I transit, and normally we have meeting back to back. So how do I do that transition? And normally I would do what Gerard has just taught us. It could just take about 2 to 3 even seconds. I want to say seconds, right? Where I recompose myself and then readjust and then open up myself to a new meeting so that I won't be stuck at where I was, but rather I can be at a place where I can accept and be open to new ideas or new dialogues.
This is a personal anecdote. So what happened was about 2 years ago, I had a health scare. Around this time, right after lunch, I was in a public coffee shop and I went into a seizure in public. And my wife was with me. She panicked, and then the seizure lasted for about, I think, 40 seconds, but it felt very long. Then she sent me to the hospital, the A&E. I was warded for 3 days in Alexandra Hospital, and they ran multiple tests on me, CT scan, MRI, all kinds of blood tests and all kinds of tests. And the results all came back. There was nothing. The doctor couldn't diagnose what was wrong with me. Okay, fine. So I got discharged and I went back. And then subsequently, for the next 1 year, wow, I started to have anxiety attacks. Because why? Because I didn't know the cause of my seizure, my mind was always wondering, when is it going to happen the next time? What I'm going to do when it happens the next time. So this thought kept playing on my mind. And the thing is, I started to experience physiological symptoms. My hands and legs would become clammy. I become difficult. The breathing becomes difficult. My blood pressure was shoot up. There were certain nights I told my wife, you have to rush me to the A&E. I felt like I was dying. Yeah. And then I thought that I was either going to have a stroke or I'm going to have a heart attack. Yeah. But so I went back to my doctor. I told her about my symptoms. I said, I'm experiencing these things. And then she put me through even more tests. Test after test, And during the follow-up, she came back, she said, Norman, there's nothing wrong with you, According, you don't mind me saying, but I think this is a case of post-traumatic anxiety disorder. So he said, there's nothing wrong with your body, but the problem is with your mind. That's when I really went deep into the practice, my own spiritual practice and also the MBSAT practice. And one of the practice, is called the Irimi practice. Irimi, this term was coined by our MBSAT teacher, came from Aikido, which means moving towards adversity or moving towards a challenge rather than away from it. So when I start having my panic attacks, my anxiety attacks, it felt very uncomfortable, right? I also, in my mind, I was telling myself, I wanted to stop. I don't want to face this. I don't want to feel this sensations or these emotions. The more I resist, wow, it comes back to me with a vengeance, right? It just gets exacerbated and I get overwhelmed. So after I learned this practice, what I did was I started to kind of distance myself a little bit and try to see where I can stay with it without trying to push it away, without trying to resist. That means I was moving towards these sensations and these feelings of discomfort, right? And I reached the point whereby I told myself, no, whatever, just let it be. You want to come, you come. You want to stay how long, you stay, you know? And that was the moment of acceptance. The moment there is acceptance, wow, amazing. The sensations start to come back less frequently. The intensity was also less, right? So I found that this practice really, really worked wonders for me. And this is one of the practices in MBSAT called the IRIMI practice.
The benefits of the mindfulness will only come with regular practice because, you know, it is something to get used to. And the reason for this, it goes back to neuroscience. And there are different parts of the brain that are responsible for different functions. And what neuroscientists have found in recent years from a lot of the MRI scans that have been done is that there's an area of the brain that is particularly involved in the mindfulness habit. And that's what they call a salient network of neurons. And so you have to activate it and do it regularly so that they can regulate the other neural networks that are responsible for other functions, you know, like emotions, forward thinking and planning, that sort of thing. So the salient network and mindfulness is where the regulation takes place, where you're able to control your attention, control your emotions. And this gives you a great big platform, a convenient platform then to do other things. And for me personally, MBSAT has been extremely useful in helping me to develop more empathy for others, especially those who may not agree with me and who I may be in conflict with. It's easier now for me to develop empathy for those other people. And then there's the other thing is that, and this might be a bit scary, because now I don't really have any fear of the unknown. We're all familiar with the fear of the unknown. Norman's mentioned the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity that we live. You see the Ukraine, you see oil prices, you see COVID-19, maybe future pandemics. MBSAT has given me personally a sense of being able to be in control, getting autonomy of my own human experience, how I feel, how I sense, what I think, what actions I can take, so that I no longer have fear of the unknown. As I said, that can be a bit scary itself, not having such fear. But on the other hand, there is this cultivation of a very positive mindset, being able to understand that, hey, whatever happens, I can deal with this. And I can look at the options that are available in a calm, regular, optimistic, positive way that takes advantage of all the information that I can gather. And this is the thing that MBSAT does. It removes the cognitive biases, distortions that we might have, all the likes and dislikes of the past, all the conditioning of the past. It helps dissolve those things and puts us back where we should be, in the driving seat of our life's journey.
Well, I think a lot of people would like to be in that position, but it's a bit contradictory, almost sounding the fact that you're a bit scared of not having a fear of the unknown now. But I'm sure it would also have allowed you to have a bit more purpose, less noises interfering with your decision-making process. Is that one of the benefits of all these programs?
Absolutely. There is a clear focus that is involved, control of your attention, the awareness. All these are very useful skills to have when you're making decisions, whether it's in your personal life or your professional life. And this may be particularly important for CEOs under pressure, for instance, in businesses. So where mindfulness has traditionally been in the realm of clinical therapy, what we're trying to promote here in MBSAT is that it can be used by anybody, and that the business community potentially could benefit the most, because, you know, CEOs and people in positions of authority have a lot of influence and effects on the people around them, whether it's the community, society, people who buy their products and services. So all the more, the business community needs to take this on board so they can make better decisions that will benefit themselves and others.
So this is probably useful for as part of the C-suite training program, and maybe even politicians should have a go at it. Help them make better decisions all around. Think things through more. Be more empathetic towards the community when they're making decisions.
Can I add on to
throwing it
that?
out
I'm a
there.
believer of that. I'm a strong believer of that. Any leaders should have a go at this, because this MBSAT actually focuses on two things in our mind: the brain training, the awareness. We talk about open awareness. That is divergent thinking, where you can do brainstorming. You can accept people who have different views or different perspectives. And then the other way is in the opposite direction is the conversion, when we talk about focused attention, where you go deep and then precision. So I'm a strong believer that anybody who leads in any field should really look into this too.
So I think there are two things that we're trying to achieve out of MBSAT. One is, of course, the calmness, but more importantly is the clarity, I think. And without the calmness, there can be no clarity. I give an example. So before I joined NTU, I was living in NUS for 3 years. I stayed in one of the residential colleges, and it's a beautiful place. And sometimes I have visitors, and we have a walkway that oversees a beautiful pond. And sometimes I will ask the visitor, ask my guest, can you guess how many fish there are in the pond? On most days, the pond, you can't see very, very clearly, because especially after a rain or whatever, the water is murky, it's turbulent. You can't really see, so there's no way to guess. But on certain days, right, on clear days, what happens is that the water is clear and we can actually see all the fish swimming, and then you can count. So a lot of times I find that, right, our mind is just like a murky pond, a turbulent pond, a lot of thoughts, a lot of worries, and things like that, rumination and things like that. So with that, there is definitely no clarity. But the thing is, once we allow all this sediment, all these thoughts and emotions to settle down, what naturally arises is the clarity of the mind. And that is what we want to achieve, because that will help us in the decision making.
It brings me to a question somebody asked earlier. They had it's recovering from COVID, and he said that his brain was much slower than it was before COVID. He felt that COVID had an impact on it. It took him like 3 times longer to write something and to put his thoughts together. A lot of brain fog. Could something like MBSAT help in that process in any way to either reduce the impact of that brain fog, or to even do away with it?
As a physician, I'm compelled to say something.
Please do.
But first of all, brain fog is not a medical or scientific term.
Yeah, sure.
It's pretty much a layman's term, and really denotes a feeling of sluggishness, fuzziness in thought, where there's no sharpness in thinking, where that somebody might be used to. But we have to be very clear that the brain fog, or whatever you want to call it, may be due to many things. It can even be due to stress, lack of sleep, maybe the antihistamine that we took, or alcohol. It could be also a symptom of some organ dysfunction in your body. So whether it's due to COVID or anything else. So the first thing I would say is, if there is what is perceived as brain fog, please see a doctor first. Make sure there is no other organic disease that is present, whether it's COVID or not. Yeah, of course, recent studies have shown that there may be some effects of the virus on the brain, and there will be continuing studies. But there could be other dysfunctions. And so first thing, go to your doctor, make sure there's nothing else that might be causing the brain fog. And then on whether or not MBSAT is helpful, I think it is, should I say, it's a no-brainer situation about this, because the neuroscience has proven that mindfulness has certain effects on these areas of the brain that will promote a calm state, attention control, focus, removal of distractions. In fact, a greater sensitivity to all the data that's coming in, inside as well as outside, so that you can make better decisions. With all this in mind, I think definitely there is a place for this in any situation, such as brain fog, where a person needs mental clarity, removal of distractions and focus, greater focus and attention on what is needed to be done. And brain fog might be one of those situations. So I firmly believe that MBSAT, mindfulness in general, can be extremely helpful.
There's also a question in our Q&A about if you have positive psychology on this.
So in my own context, I always feel that, our brain is not wired for happiness. I mean, it's wired for survival. There's a built-in negativity bias. A lot of times when we just lie in bed before we go to sleep, we see where our thoughts wander to is usually to those things that, are unpleasant, right? Things that cause us a lot of worry and anxiety. Yeah. So I think one practice in MBSAT that focuses that came out of positive psychology is what we call the three good things. We can actually rewire the brain through mindfulness practice, and one of them is this thing called three good things, whereby we intentionally, focus on three things, in the day that has gone well rather than not gone well, and we kind of savor those moments and think of all the good things associated with that. I think as a result of that, I think positive emotions start to arise, and if we do it regularly, the quality, of our emotions, of our tend to increase. The happiness also tend to increase, I feel. Yeah. So that's one of the practice that we do in MBSAT.
Great. Thank you for that, Norman. That's a good way to wind up our session as well on a positive note. Think of three good things. I think a lot of good things have come out of this session. We've had a chance to go through a short session with Gerard. We've learned about staying calm, and Maria has been treading water while remaining calm and making calm decisions. And Norman, all your experiences are very sort of invaluable in terms of trying to get a sense of how MBSAT and the whole practice of meditation and calming yourself can help you make better decisions, be it for your personal life or in business or in whatever. And maybe it's a sort of a good practice to take on board and cultivate for yourself in your own way, perhaps for each of you out there. Norman New, Maria Tan, and Dr. Gerard Wong, thank you for sharing all the experiences that you've had on today's session with the audience. And all of you stay safe out there and have a good calming time for the rest of the week and beyond. Yeah, thank you.